For those of you guys thinking of doing a PhD or will be starting a PhD soon in the future, I just want to put it out there that the name recognition or the perceived fame of your advisor is not the end all be all. I think in undergrad and even during my gap years and even now in my PhD, people talk about these researchers like they're some kind of god. And sure, they're like famous, they have amazing publication records, they've done a lot of influential work in science, but just because they're famous doesn't necessarily make them a good advisor, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that you'll fit well within their lab. From an advice standpoint, and yes, this even goes for undergrads just thinking of joining a research lab, I would prioritize the lab fit, the mentoring style of the advisor, and also potentially whether or not that advisor is actually supportive of their students, rather than any kind of perceived fame or like name or things like that. So many research horror stories and just like research horror stories in general can kind of be traced back to the person you're working with. And you just like don't know what's gonna happen. They can potentially drop you, they can just start being toxic and then refuse to write you a rec letter. That ends up putting you in a really sticky situation. So honestly, what has really worked for me in the past is working with people that I feel like I mesh well with. And I will say there is a component of luck in there too. Like I've been really, really lucky. But that said, I just typically would not recommend people focus on the name of a potential PI rather than like something like lab fit or like culture. Because believe it or not, the lab and also the advisor can really make or break your PhD experience.